Streaming on YouTube as well. It should work now. Hi everyone. Let us know how the audio is.
Good audio, bad
We're
audio.
live on YouTube.
Okay, Jim, get started.
Hi everybody. We are here today with David McAfee. Say hi, David.
McAfee.
McAfee. I'm sorry, McAfee.
Or-
David McAfee and Chuck Harrison, and they are the authors of several books. But the book we're talking about today is Book of Religion. And David, you want to say a little bit about the book?
Yeah, the Book of Religions is the third in our series of children's books teaching kids about religion, about beliefs, about gods. It was partially inspired by Chuck's son, and he put amazing work into the illustrations and into the writing, and we both came to the conclusion that it's easiest to teach in fun, interactive ways, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on all three of the books so far. So if anybody wants to check them out, then I encourage you to do so.
Right, and these books they're fully illustrated and very interactive, and they're good for kids of all ages and even adults to get into. It really amazed me at the approach that you took towards teaching people about religions, kids specifically. Why is it harder to teach kids about religion than it is other things?
I don't think it is, personally.
No, it's not. It's not that.
I would say,
Right.
I would say it's kind of it's harder for the parents because they put a lot of emotional attachment into it. They have their own baggage that they're dealing with for their whole life. But as far as the kid is concerned, it's just like teaching anything else, and using fun mechanisms to do that really helps them get the understanding of this complicated concept that doesn't have to be so complicated if you boil it down.
So is
There's
it
like,
go on, sorry.
there's like thousands and thousands of like moms and dads out there who are currently teaching their children all about Batman right now. And Batman can be a complicated story filled with like a whole pantheon of characters, and there's little kids out there who could like tell you everything about the Justice League and what they do. And I kind of look at God and religions and all of that. It's very similar.
It is.
They're just
it is.
old superhero stories.
And thanks to Chuck, we use that analogy throughout the book. And so there's a lot of superhero comparisons. And in reality, they are very close. It's very similar.
So a lot of people in the Facebook live chat are saying, "Oh, so you guys are indoctrinating your children?" Then this is a lot of people might say like this is this seems like you because if you look at the book.
Wait, hold on. We in the first book we actually give you the definition of indoctrination, and we tell you what it is. So it would kind of defeat the purpose to try to indoctrinate your child while telling them exactly what we're doing. It doesn't work that way.
It's true. And to build off of that, indoctrination, the very nature of it is to teach you not to question, to teach you this is the absolute truth. And what Chuck and I do is literally the opposite of that. Every line is about questioning, about asking more, about looking for more evidence, about never being satisfied with what feels right, about uncovering the facts no matter what. So yeah, we definitely happen to be non-believers, but the books themselves have nothing to do with teaching atheism to kids. It's more about teaching critical thinking to kids while teaching them the basics of religion and how religions are made.
But isn't that
absolutely?
But hold on, let me. Wouldn't you think that it's the purpose of the book? To me, is when I look at these books, I think like this is going to get kids to realize that this is all made up, right? So it seemed like the direction. Like I don't think I love the books. I personally don't have any problem in trying to steer kids towards atheism, and I know a lot of people in the live chat. I know a lot of people in the live chat disagree with me, and I do think that your books are more likely to create kids that are going to be like, okay, I see how this is all made up. This is all imaginary. I don't think kids coming out of reading your books are going to realize that, okay, I think this God is real, and I'm going to be a Christian now.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but let me put it this way. These books may push kids on the path toward atheism in the same way that my religious studies college degree did for people there. Basically, when you learn the facts about religion, you're going to be more likely to not subscribe to that dogma, but that's not that you're being indoctrinated, it's that you're seeing the facts and deciding from there. So I do agree with the premise that kids maybe push toward atheism with this, but it's not anything that you wouldn't learn in a religious studies course in a college at American University, because a lot of this information came from me distilling what I learned in college. So it's objective academic material, and also it's atheistic and secular. So I get what you're saying.
Right. By the way, in my opinion, one of the inevitabilities of walking the path of knowledge and logic and reason and seeking the actual truth behind a belief, you inevitably find that that religions are one, man-made, and your book outlines how religions are made and how man plays the part in it.
Yeah.
And also they are fundamentally reflective of the societies that make them, or the societies that revolve around them, and your book also goes into that as well, and that's something that I really enjoyed.
So we will get to the specifics of your book and how it does what it does, but we will. But I want to just this whole atheist indoctrination thing. I really don't. I'm trying to also, I haven't made up my mind about it yet, because if I had a kid and my kid came to me and said, "Hey, is the Earth flat?" and I tell him or her, "No, it's not," am I indoctrinating my child?
No, if you say, "No, it's not, don't ask any questions about this is the way it is, get over it," that's indoctrination. If you say, "This is the way it is, feel free to look for evidence to the contrary and explore the world around you and come to that conclusion yourself," go for it. Those are two different approaches.
Okay, so I want to build on that question. The whole purpose of that question was to build on it. So if my kid also comes and asks me, is Jesus real, or was Jesus the Son of God, or is Muhammad the prophet of God? And I tell her no, but feel free to investigate. But I first do say no. Is that indoctrination just because it's religion? Okay.
No.
So let's make an analogy that's really comparable and really relevant. Santa Claus, if your kid comes up to you and up to this date you have not indoctrinated your child with the belief in Santa Claus, and or even if you have, and they come up to you and they say, "Is Santa Claus real?" You have two choices. Choice one, you lie to them and you say, "Yes, of course Santa Claus is real." Choice two is you be honest with them and you say, "No," because they came to you and obviously they're asking a question for a reason, so they already have some sort of an idea. And if you, are you a bad person, or are you a bad parent for being honest with them when they come to you with a concern like that? I don't believe so.
There's a third choice.
What's that?
When my son asked me when he was younger if he, he's like, "Is Santa Claus real?" I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "I think he is." And I said, "Then he is." And then one day he asked, and I asked him what he thinks, and he said, "I don't think he is." And I'm like, "Then he isn't." Just like that. Yeah.
But is it?
And you're not indoctrinating them, but at the same time, I'm sure that you were giving them other critical thinking skills that allowed them to come to that conclusion.
No, I mean, it
was the kids at school who had found out, and they spoiled it for him.
Can I be critical of that position? I don't know if that's allowed, because it seems like you're like. Can I be critical of your answer?
Yeah, I don't care.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Because then it seems like, I don't know if parenting. I'm not a parent, so I don't know how sensitive it is to be critical of this.
Oh yeah.
No, that's
okay.
not at all. It's
So
a big argument in the parenting community.
So if I had my own child and she asked me, "Is Santa is real?" and she said, "Well, what do you think?" and she said, "Yes," and I said, "Well, I wouldn't say to her, well, then it is." I would say, "Well, I don't think so," and we disagree, and only one of us is right. Like, because I don't want to tell them, I don't want to teach them that the truth could be everyone's opinion. Like, I could show, like, okay, we have a disagreement, and that's okay, but only one of us is right. We don't know who's right, but only one of us is right here.
If I were to do it all over again, I would not do the Santa Claus thing.
Right. By the way, I can't see your camera.
I did the Santa thing, and then I regretted it.
Yeah.
Chuck, can you bring your camera a little bit higher, because I only see your nose and your. Okay, there you go. Fantastic.
So I did the Santa Claus thing, and about 9, 8, 7, 6, about 4 years ago, my daughter came up to me, and it was the day after Christmas, and she said, "Daddy, I don't think I believe in Santa." And I said, well, no, I'm sorry. She asked me. She said, "Daddy, is Santa real?" And I said, kind of exactly what you said, Chuck. I said, "Well, what do you think?" You know, that's how I approached it. And she said, "Well, I don't think he is." And I said, "Well, why do you say that?" And she said, "Because the presents from you and the presents from Santa are wrapped in the same wrapping paper."
I was like, no way. Are you serious?
I dropped that. Yeah, but it all goes back to critical thinking skills. You know, she was able to look at the evidence and decide for herself, even though a belief that she held to be true, and it was a punishment reward system, and she was she mostly believed in it because she knew that she would get, you know, a reward out of it. But she was able to separate truth from reality, use critical thinking skills, and apply outside evidence to her beliefs and change her mind.
Okay, I want to go into some of the live chat questions, but before I do, I want to be honest here. I do think, like, a lot of atheists are just like, oh, just teach them critical thinking skills, and wherever they land, they land. I don't agree with that. If people say, oh, you have an atheist bias, I'm like, well, yeah, because I have a truth bias. If they do land to anything, if my kids do land to any direction other than atheism, I see that as something going wrong. I say, like, okay, what the hell happened here? Like, of course I'm going to have a bias just because I have a bias for the truth. It's in the same way, I don't know why people think about religion, or let them decide, but they don't feel the same way about anything else other than religion. If my kids all of a sudden decide that the earth is flat, that's also a sign to me that things have gone wrong somewhere, right? So I don't know why we are so sensitive about letting them decide whatever they want when it comes to religion, when we know that, you know, a lack of belief in God is the most logical position to land on.
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
I've spent the last 5 minutes looking for this quote that I cannot find, but it's a quote from Barack Obama from his book, The Audacity of Hope, where he describes how his mother raised him to treat religion. And his mother was an anthropologist. And so she taught him to treat religion like an anthropologist. She said, treat religion with a suitable respect, in that you don't intervene in other people's lives and tell them, no, you're wrong, don't believe these things, and stop them from practicing what they want to practice, as long as it doesn't interfere with others. But also to treat it with a distance. I think that's the actual word he uses. Treat it with some distance as well. Basically, observe it and talk about it, but don't get wrapped up in it. Don't treat it like fundamentalists do. And I think that touches on what we do in the books and what I generally like to teach people. It's not just to say, here are critical thinking skills, go on your way. You can give your opinion. You can say, here's the conclusion I've reached. I don't believe that there's a God, and here's why, X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. But as long as you don't say, then that's it, that's the end of the discussion, then you're not indoctrinating people, indoctrinating kids. And giving them that room is actually good for you too, because if you tell a kid, I don't know, you probably don't know a lot about this, but if you tell a kid this is how it is, they're going to want 10 times more to rebel against that. So if your kid is a flat earther, you don't want to say, stop being a flat earther, you're an idiot, this went wrong, you're done. You want to say, I personally think you're wrong, but continue investigating and maybe try to convince them otherwise. But if you shut down and say this is how it is, regardless of the topic, religion, anything, it's just psychologically the wrong move, I think.
Right. Well, I don't agree with respecting religion. I agree with respecting it. Oh God, sorry.
Respecting, I clarified there, respecting people's right to believe things in their brains. I don't want to control what other people do. I will convince them, but
how can you? Like, a lot of people say that let people believe what they want, and I always like, what's the alternative? How can you force somebody to believe something else? Huh?
I've got an easy answer.
Oh yeah, but I think we're far away from thought. Like, we don't. I don't.
Penalty? Yeah.
Of course, we don't have thought crime. I don't think if you tell somebody you're wrong, it's the same as not letting them believe what they want.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Agree. I think making a law that says if you believe this, we'll put you in jail. Like some countries do with atheism, that's the definition of forcing people to believe a certain way.
Or it's more like forcing them to act like they believe in it. I still think it's impossible to force somebody to believe something.
I completely agree with the philosophy behind that, but that doesn't stop people from putting these flawed laws that say if you believe this, you're wrong. I agree that you can't force them to believe that way, but at the same time, you can make a stupid law that says if you believe this way, that you'll go to jail, and then you can, you basically, like you said, you force them to act a certain way, and then when they don't, you get them. It's stupid, but countries do that, and it's bad.
Nobody expects
China,
the Spanish
Inquisition.
Chuck's right. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
By the way, Zara in the live chat is asking, how do you navigate the conversation when kids are around other kids who have a religious upbringing?
Why am I navigating anything that my son is saying to another child?
We talk about that in the book too, about how this stuff is going to come up in everyday life. Like your kid, I've met a lot of atheists, even atheists on the Atheist Republic page, who have said, I think the right way to teach about religion is to not teach about religion, to not ever even mention it, to not, don't go near it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're setting yourself up.
That is the worst idea ever.
Yeah, they're going to learn from their friends, and they're all going to be whatever religion their friends are, and they're going to fall into everything. You got to educate them constantly and continually, because they will hear stuff that contradicts facts, and so they'll come home and you'll be like, hey, what's going on? And I heard this, and you have to continue that process. It's never a one thing, as Chuck, I'm sure, can attest.
The claims made by religion are all false, but the fact that religion itself is real and it's a major part of our society, nobody can deny that. And if you don't, people have to study it and recognize it as a powerful force that it is.
Yeah, it's dangerous to ignore it, for sure.
Yeah.
Particularly, in the society that I grew up in, the Abrahamic religions were prominent, most specifically Christianity. Mm-hmm. So I personally think that it's important, and have educated my kids on the religion in our society. On Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't really feel the need to go into details with something like, say, Hinduism or something like that, but I think that giving them the fundamental beliefs, and not just telling them that they're flawed, but showing them why religion as a whole, not the specific religion, but why the concept of religion is flawed. Explain the difference between natural and metaphysical. There's really a lot of things that you can do without just telling them, Jesus Christ isn't real, or something like that.
I'm going to tell my kids I think Jesus Christ isn't real. At least, I'm going to tell them I think he's not the Son of God. He may just be a person. I'm going to tell them that.
My son and I,
your opinion.
We're trying to find historical evidence of Christ. That's what we did.
Yeah.
But, okay, Beej in the live chat is asking, sorry. Can I?
I was going to say that, I've actually been able to change my mind due to new evidence. I used to not believe in Jesus Christ at all, but I do believe that there was a historical Jesus. Not a biblical Jesus, of course, but I do believe that historical evidence
leans some guy named Josh who did some preaching.
Right, exactly. And
Listen, Josh, sit down. All right.
Beach Price in the live chat is asking, would I think by they you means you two guys, would they mind reading a tiny bit of the book out loud, part of the intro perhaps? By the way, for the people that just joined the live chat, do you guys want to mention the book again? The new
Book of Religions.
Yeah, we're talking about the Book of Religions, the third in the Belief series. I don't have any physical copies yet, Jim. Otherwise, I'd read it here. I don't know if one of you guys has like a PDF. Oh no, we don't have a PDF either.
Jim, wherever he is.
Okay, guys, what I'll do is that we'll get us when the live version of this is over. When we get a few sample PDF pages, and we'll link to it in the description.
Is there a page in your article, David?
Oh yeah, there's quotes about Muhammad in my article, and then there's let me see what I can pull up here. Hold on.
Can you explain?
Where can they find that article at, David?
The Friendly Atheist article, friendlyatheist.com, or just search Friendly Atheist Book of Religions or No Sacred Cows Book of Religions. 2 different articles on 2 Patheos blogs.
I know we're talking about Book of Religions, but I highly recommend No Sacred Cows. That's an excellent book.
Thank you. I have Belief Book and No Sacred Cows. But I
Belief book, get them, guys. The entire series is great. The third installment, I think, is going to be my favorite.
What age is your book for?
I like Chuck's answer to this. 6 to what was it? 6 to 6,000.
6 to 106.
6 to 106. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
you're 107. Sorry.
No,
I guess no, we can't read it.
I might have kids just so I could buy your books for them.
Oh,
wow. That's extreme.
But I do have the intro.
That's a number 1 fan right there.
Hello and welcome to the Book of Religions. We're so happy that you're joining us on our latest voyage, which is part of a super awesome and important journey of knowledge and discovery. It's a journey that started in the Belief Book, where we learned about what belief is, where it came from, and why it's so important to everyone. Then it continued in the Book of Gods, which taught us where gods came from and why some people worship them. We even created some gods of our own. It's been an amazing trip, one that has led you here with this book in your hands. By the time you're done reading it, you'll not only know just what religions are, you'll also have an idea of how they help shape the world we all live in and even how they work. So, are you ready to know just what religion is and how it's a part of your life even if you don't know it? Great, let's strap on our thinking caps and go on an adventure of learning.
Yay!
Awesome.
And it's very interactive. So the kids get to make their own religion. So it's not it's not a book that you just read. So you have to do what are stuff that the kids have to do when they read the book?
Chuck, take this one.
Oh man. Well, if they've read the Book of Gods, they will hopefully already have a god, and then the Book of Religions will guide them to from taking this god from just a god you've created to a religion for the god that you can get your friends and family to join.
And today. And today Chuck sent me a picture of somebody who their kid was with the Book of Gods, and they created a pumpkin god. And
Belief Book.
Oh, the Belief Book, And I believe, Chuck, that Elijah created a penguin god. Is that what that one was from?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he created the penguin god.
Yeah, and so it gives them a chance to be creative and to make these deities. And then with the Book of Religions, we expand on that. So they create rule books for these deities. And you have to have ice cream on every weekend or every day after before breakfast.
Can you make an adult version of this? This is too much fun. I want with some.
I mean, it really is an adult version. I mean, anybody can do it.
No, I want a darker version.
The god can be.
We could do darker.
The great thing,
I want a religion based on like murder or blood or lust or cannibalism or stuff like . So
yeah, that's what the great about the book of the belief book and the book of religions is because whatever God or religion you want to make up, no matter how complex or simple, a 6-year-old can make a little simple God, or an older person such as yourself can be as complex as they want, or as in depth as they want with
or
their
murderer-ish.
Yeah.
Apparently we're learning some things about him tonight, I think. But actually, we've had a lot of people, a surprising number of older people. I'm talking like older as in like senior people, but also just like everyone who has said that they've learned some. Everybody who has read the book has told me that they've learned something from it, no matter what age. Because, like I said, in addition to being creative and fun about gods, a lot of this comes from stuff that I learned in college that I didn't know until I got there, and that most people don't know because they don't sit around studying religions all the time. So like in the Book of Religions, when we go around and learn the basics of all these different faiths, that's stuff that you probably don't know every detail of that, and you might learn something at any age, and I like that about it.
You know, when I was a kid, we played like Age of Empires and stuff, and
I loved that game.
And you know, religion was like building temples and stuff. That was a powerful political tool, right? And you play it and you're like, wait a minute, right? So I can't imagine like kids like reading this book. I mean, I'm pretty like the percentage of kids coming out of this not being an atheist should be very small. I'm hoping, because you really see how we could just make up stuff, right? Do you think like any Christian parents or any Muslim parents would buy this book for their kids?
Yeah. Surprisingly, yeah. People who are more on the open-minded spectrum have bought this book, and there are even people in the reviews who are like, I'm a Christian and I know this was written by an atheist, but it's also written in a fun way that does educate them about the different religions. And this book, the belief book, is in certain classrooms and stuff throughout the United States. There are teachers who use it in their classrooms because it's not so. We never say become atheist. Atheism is the way. We literally don't even mention the word atheism in the belief book. All we do is basically talk about facts you'd learn in a religious studies class, boiled down for little kids, and say, isn't that fun? And yeah, it seems like it's teaching you atheism, but that's because it's teaching you about religion, which, like we said, once you know about religion, you're not likely to participate in that.
Okay, so there's three of them: belief book, God book, and then the religion book. Do you need the first two before you get to the religion book, or could you just start with the religion book?
You need them all. I would say it is better if you have. They each build on each other, so it doesn't. I'm not saying you can't enjoy the Book of Religions by itself, because you definitely can. But they also build off each other. So if it's a kid, they would want to have read the other two so that they could kind of familiarize themselves with all.
So you take your God, and now you have a God, and you make a religion around that God.
Exactly.
Right.
That's so cool.
But before you have a God, you have to understand how belief works.
Yep.
Right.
So
which is where the no
belief,
sacred cows comes in.
No, the belief book that for children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about making it? Okay, so now you have the 3 books. What about making a game, like a board game or a card game around it?
We've talked about it.
We've had discussions. Action figures, maybe. So interactive
playtime. Oh yeah, but
an interactive Muhammad.
Yeah, man. I want a Muhammad action figure.
Can you make your own Can you make your own
the
pantheon?
In your pocket.
Okay,
right.
so
there you go.
The difference between the pantheon of gods and the superheroes that we have now is that the similarities are a lot, right? But the difference is that basically ancient gods were the superheroes of their time, right?
Yeah.
Yes. These are people that could do incredible things, and they would come and save the day, or some of them were bad, some of them were
wine.
Good. Yeah, but the thing is that the only difference is that people that enjoy superheroes today know that it's fiction.
Exactly.
And people that had enjoyed their gods thought these were based on real figures. But the interesting thing about superheroes is that we can show that you could enjoy myth and enjoy fiction and take all the benefits of stories without actually believing in it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a huge part of this. That's a huge part of it. And for me, it's interesting because I majored in religious studies and I was an atheist when I went into that program. I've always been interested by religions. And so for me, that difference doesn't really exist. I am passionate about deities and superheroes, and I do see them as the same basic thing because they're both fiction. And so getting people to see how analogous they are and how related these two issues are will help people see that they can enjoy myths without believing in them. And we teach it to them in a fun way so they can actually have fun, and they're like, oh, I like this God, but that doesn't mean that they believe in it, and they know the difference by the end of the books.
By the way, Sub-Zero had a comment for Jim's analogy earlier, saying Jim's analogy does not fit because children being indoctrinated with religion are being taught by believers. Adult teaching children about Santa don't believe he is real. But I think, Sub-Zero, wouldn't that make it more dishonest?
In my daughter's case, my daughter didn't learn about Santa Claus from me. She learned about it from other kids, and then I started, going along with it because I was like, well, she knows about it now. So I mean,
it's more like when you have a friend who gets into a pyramid scheme or something, and you're just like, okay, cool, and you just like wait for that to turn. And
okay, Santa is a good example for when it comes to kids, right? When I have my own kid, I will never tell them Santa is real. I think that's a huge, when they find out that it's not real, then they're going to be like, okay, then my dad is not a very good source of information. Like my dad lies to me on purpose. So I might, I'm going to, if they ask me Santa is real, I'm going to say, I don't think so. What do you think? And also at the same time tell them that, I'm not going to ruin Christmas. Like, it doesn't matter if he's not real. We can play pretend.
Exactly.
Right?
That's my philosophy. And I wrote about this in other books. In Mom, Dad, I'm an Atheist, I have a huge section about it because I don't have any kids yet, but I do plan to have kids. And when I do, I have a fairly solid plan with how I would approach all this. And it's based on what I've seen in my own life and what I've seen other people do. And it's basically you play pretend without lying. You literally, I would never tell my kids that Santa's real, but that doesn't mean we can't also have little fun presents with different wrapping and be like, oh, look,
and pretend that he's real.
That's the key.
As long as
you can just show them Gremlins.
Like, this is a game. Do you want to play the Santa game? And if they say yes, then we'll play.
Right. And I think kids have a really good understanding of what playing pretend means because they always like, hey, I'm a horse now. It's like they know they're not a horse. They know they're pretending. So if they can understand that,
Oh, man.
Well, what's wrong with introducing them to the scientific method early, and when they come to you with a question, saying something like, "Well, I don't know," let's experiment. What is Santa supposed to do? And they say, "Oh, he's supposed to eat milk and drink eat cookies and drink milk."
Yeah.
And so you leave him out and you say, "Okay, we're going to camp out all night. We're going to wait on Santa. It's supposed to be tonight, right? Like December 24th, tonight. Yeah, tonight." So you sit down and you camp out with the Nerf gun and the little army helmet. Just waiting on him. Nothing happens. It's like, well, what do you think? After we perform this experiment, do you think he's real? Well, no.
And that'll teach him to be vigilant for home invaders when they're older and adults. So
absolutely.
In the live chat,
dual purpose.
Moose Chat in the live chat is asking at what age we need to teach kids about critical thinking. I think
we've talked.
It's possible. That should be the very first thing.
Critical thinking is something, like babies need to start learning critical thinking.
I think as a parent, if you do it naturally, you will just naturally answer your kids' questions with other questions, and that will just teach them.
You will Socrates them into knowing shit. And we've talked about this before when it comes to religion. People have asked me and Chuck millions of times, like, when do we start teaching our kids about religion? And the answer has always been the same. When they start asking stuff like that leads you in that direction, that's a good hint that they're ready. When they're like, oh, I was wondering about this, or what happens when we die, or these are questions that kids do have. So if you answer them, and like Chuck said, answer them with questions like, what do you think? And like, what would that mean? And what would that lead to? And that's teaching critical thinking and religion at the same time, while waiting till they're ready, because they're asking for it, literally.
Okay, so here's a critique of what we're saying right now. So I from an I heard this from an atheist, and he said that a lot of atheists tell like, oh, don't tell kids this, don't tell them, say like, oh, what do you think, and he was very much against it because he was saying that before a certain age, I don't remember what age he mentioned, kids look for security. Kids look for a sense of stability. Kids look to the parents as authority figures that tell them how things are, and tells they looking for guidance.
And it's our job to knock that out of them so that they don't look to authority figures in their later life, and they don't fall in line with a political figure that is going to just tell them everything.
But he was suggesting that you could start doing that maybe at age 4 or 5, but don't do it before age 3. At that point, just tell them
I co-created a human being, and he's my favorite human being on Earth. I have a clear bias, but he's my favorite human on Earth, and I treat him as if he is my favorite human, and I have no ownership of him. I don't have any real set rules on, obviously there's age appropriate stuff, and innocence is simply ignorance that has yet to be taken away. And we hold, value to innocence or ignorance. And so I don't show him, as much as I would like to. We can't watch that amazing Christmas movie Die Hard yet because there's some violence going on there.
Not yet.
But soon. He's 12. It's coming. But, I don't have an age limit for him. He's 4. I'm going to talk to a human being regardless who they are, as if they are a human being. I'm going to respect them as a human. And it's arbitrary. It's the age that he wanted to talk to me about things.
That's what I wanted to say, is that I think a lot of this is on a case-by-case basis, and people forget that. People comment all the time, and they're like, my kid, or I at 8 years old would never have been able to understand this. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I know 8-year-olds who can, so why don't we just judge this case by case?
For him, stability is a roof over his head, food in his belly, a bed to sleep in. He gets new toys. He watches YouTube. There's nothing about knowing gods or religions in that stability.
Yeah.
If I'm providing a home.
Yeah, you're good. Right. And if someone is too young, and literally their brain just craves that stability, then giving your opinion should help, because they will be able to say, okay, well, I do trust my dad. Let me take that opinion and incorporate that into my life. And you don't have to be an authority. This is how it is. I know when I was a kid and my dad told me, do this. And I said, why would I do that? And he said, because I'm your dad. Because I said so, because I'm your dad, because I'm the boss. That never ever worked on me. I was like, bye.
It's important whenever your kid comes to you with a question or is presented with a scenario and they don't understand the question or understand their position or act in the scenario, that you explain it to them. So from a very early age, I think it's important to let your kids know that you can be a source of knowledge, and not just a source of knowledge, but the best source of knowledge. And it's important that you not bullshit your way through answers. It's important that if you don't know something, say, I don't know, but we're going to find out together. And you hit up the Google machine, you hit up the encyclopedia, you hit up the dictionary. Oh no, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know. I have no problem telling my kid that I don't know something
because I didn't know.
But I want my child to know that I am human. That I am capable of being wrong. That I am capable of not knowing something.
Wait,
and I think that it's great.
You haven't had a kid.
No, okay. Okay, Jim, I will tell my kid I don't know when they ask me a question that I don't know. Right? Yeah. But if they ask me if Santa is real, I'm not going to tell them I don't know. I'm going to tell them no, he's not real, but I might be wrong. Sure. What do you think? But I wouldn't tell them I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good.
No, I'm I'm talking about things that I don't have knowledge of, like things like, for instance, like when my doctor asked me why the sky is blue, I seem to remember from science class like why the sky was blue, something to do with refracted light and all this other bull crap. And I was like, well, I think I know, but I'm not quite sure. Let's figure it out. And once we figured it out and we learned about it, I said, okay, yeah, I was right. This is why the sky is blue, and it's something that's stuck with her. As a matter of fact, through her asking questions and everything, she to this day, she's 9 years old. She wants to be an astronomer when she grows up.
Nice.
Wait, do you? Okay, so what you have?
Like
so a lot of parents are a lot of people that are not yet parents. They see kids asking questions and the parents are not answering, and they always like, oh, if when I have my kids, I'm gonna answer all the I'm not gonna ignore them at all. Like every time they ask me a question, I'm gonna spend time. And then they have their kids, and then every fucking question is followed by another question, followed by another question.
Yeah,
is there a point that you can say like, okay, shut the fuck up, or no? Like, do you have to? Or do you have to?
Of course.
Field this one.
I taught Elijah how to look up stuff.
Oh, good.
Okay. Oh, good.
So at a very young age, I taught him how to use a search engine and how to find like articles and stuff on his own. So I can be like, you just want to look it up? Because I don't know. And he'll go, okay.
Because
then he gets to become like almost like the parrot, and then he'll lecture me on what he's learned.
Oh, no.
While showing me what he's found. And I'm like, whoa, I just learned something. How about that?
No, I think a lot of parents tell people that are not parent that they don't know how easy it is to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then they become a parent and they see the limited time they have, and they're like, it's not that simple, right? Like, is that so? I mean, you guys are all parents, I guess. Am I the only person that is not a parent?
No, I'm not a parent either.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
Aren't you a dog parent, David?
I have 2 dogs. Let me tell you guys about my dogs.
What are the views on God?
I have a Chihuahua who has one eye, and her name is Daisy, and she is very sweet. And we have a Saint Bernard pit bull who is much larger and much louder. And they're amazing dogs.
Are they
and
religious?
I have not taught them about religions yet.
You need to do that before they get indoctrinated by the boxer next door.
In dog.
He'll be like, David, all dogs go to heaven. What are you offering?
It's a dog with a capital D.
Right?
Moose Gal in the live chat is saying, don't forget the Tooth Fairy, Leprechaun, and Easter Bunny too. Yep, all of them. Blonde Infidel. Oh, hi, Blonde Infidel. She's saying, yeah, be honest, but don't answer questions too quickly.
I think she has a really good Twitter.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, Blonde. Yeah,
Blonde Infidel.
By the way, Blonde Infidel, I'm coming to Australia. I hope I see you there. In February. So I want to go back to something that Chuck said. Regarding ownership, right? So you say, yeah, you have no ownership over your kids.
No, we fought a whole war about that here.
Oh, you did?
It's called the Civil War. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole war, and a lot of people died. And at the end, we were like, okay, so you can't own people unless they've been convicted of a crime. My son being born to me wasn't a criminal offense, so I don't own him.
Are you sure?
Okay, I don't. It's a weird way to parent. I've talked to a lot of parents about it, and they don't like that because they were kind of owned as children by their parents.
I was.
Yeah, my dad was a drill sergeant. So
okay, so
that explains a lot.
Right?
What does it? Okay, what? So this is a very interesting topic to me because when parents don't vaccinate their children, for example, and they say, don't tell me how to
science.
Yeah, but then when they say you don't tell me how to parent, I tell them like, you don't own your kids.
Exactly.
You don't get to decide that they don't get to get vaccinated. You don't get to decide that they should be this vulnerable to diseases because they get shitty parents like you. Yeah. Right? This is a human rights issue. This is not like you don't own them, so you don't get to choose that, right? So I'm going to make it a little bit more controversial now. Again, this is why a lot of people say I'm an atheist fundamentalist. So why So why, given that parents don't own their children, why don't we get to go to religious kids of religious parents and tell them, try to,
I do.
You do? Okay. So
I mean, we made a book that has made its way into hands of kids.
No, but you're doing that. But there's a difference. You're doing it through their parents.
Sometimes.
But I'm suggesting, why do I have to get the parents' permission if I could get their kids exposed to doubting?
Agree.
Okay.
I've had kids message me before, and I've sent them free PDFs. I've sent free PDFs of the Belief book to a 12-year-old girl like a week ago. I don't care. She said her parents were fundamentalist Christians, and she wanted to know about religions from another perspective. And I was like, here you go. Enjoy.
Right. Christy, by the way, is saying kids own their parents is more like...
That's true.
In some ways, maybe. But
yeah, I think... Yeah, it's like an involuntary servitude to be a parent.
Okay, but this is very controversial. Like, I don't know. It's amazing that you guys are agreeing with me, because this is, to me, I'm telling the future. Like, Islam is growing as a religion. I think Christianity is.
Yes.
So I think the way that the future is for us, promoting non-religion and atheism, which is something I want to do. Yes, people, I want to promote atheism, is to reach to their kids. I tell people, Muslim parents and Christian parents, and they get offended when I say we're coming after your kids, and they're like, "Fuck," like, no, and this sounds very controversial. I'm like, but no, we are. And we're going to find ways to, you're creating a bubble around your kids, and we're going to try to get through that. And
pop it.
Yeah, and do you think that's like a lot of people...
all bubbles pop.
Can I interject here a
bit?
Yeah. I've written about this topic several times, including for the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, when I wrote an article called Why We Should Teach Our Children About Religion. And in it, I argue that religious studies should be a key component of early education, starting in primary school and elementary school, teaching kids the basic outlines of religions like our books do. And this has been very controversial. A lot of people think it's a violation of separation of church and state, which it's not. Teaching objective facts about religions is very much allowed within our school system in America. And what it does, as we've learned from our talk so far, is teaching objective facts about religion to young kids leads them to a religion, to being a-religious, to being atheist, to being non-religious, because they understand that the only religion in the world isn't the one that they were raised in. They understand the complexities of all these different faiths, and they're factually speaking, statistically speaking, if you look at countries in Europe where they have these early education programs for religious studies, and then you look at the adults in those countries, they're always, 100% of the stats show that they are always less religious in countries where they learn about religion early on. So I'm trying to go even further than preaching to kids. I want it to be literally part of their educational system to learn about the stuff we teach in these 3 books, which will, again, lead them to atheism.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. A lot of people say, separation of church and states when it comes to not teaching people about religion. I don't understand, because we don't do that about any other fairy tale out there. Why does religion get a special, privilege of being like, this is something sensitive, don't teach kids about it?
No.
Like,
and it doesn't. The Constitution, the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that we can, in the United States, teach kids about religion. Some teachers are scared to broach the subject because they're scared of crossing the line.
Objectively.
But it's an easy line not to cross. If you don't say this religion is real, then you're not crossing that line. You know?
Right. By the way, Damon in the Facebook live chat is saying, "Can you send me the PDF for my kids?" And people go, where can people, because you mentioned that if people come to you and ask for a free PDF, and if they can't afford it, or if they want to look at the PDF to see if they want to buy the print book, you will send the PDF to them, right? So where can people find you to get a free PDF?
Yeah, they can. Most people email me at david@davidgmcafee.com.
Okay.
Also, people hit me up on Facebook sometime, facebook.com/author David G. McAfee.
Sounds good. And Uday is asking a really good question. He or she is asking, wouldn't teaching critical thinking too early for a child take away the joy of wonder and imagination?
No, because like they touched on earlier, just because you're teaching critical thinking skills does not mean that it limits you from imagination. You can still interact with your child and allow your child to have their imaginary friends or their beliefs or whatever. If they want to engage in the Tooth Fairy game and the Easter Bunny game and the Santa Claus game, whatever, then it is fine, because one, it's a harmless belief. Which also led me to, David, I wanted to ask you, what are your feelings about religious parents that indoctrinate their children with religion? I mean, you're against the ownership of a child and indoctrinating your child early with religion. Studies have shown that it's a lot harder for that child to escape the religion.
Yeah, I wrote about that in Disproving Christianity in my first book. I talk about when I was interviewing kids at my school at UC Santa Barbara, and I asked this one guy what his religion was. And he said, I'm half Catholic and half agnostic. And I was like, thinking like, okay, so he's Catholic, but he has like this half of him that questions whether or not this, so I was trying to unpack.
He's like a Chewini.
I was trying to unpack what his beliefs were, and I swear to God, he followed up with, my mom is Catholic and my dad's agnostic. So he literally thought that you inherit directly.
It was like hereditary?
Yeah, like your grandmother or something. And so it's just always since then, it's been such a shocking concept of this hereditary religion. But it's so true. If you grow up and you're indoctrinated into a faith, it's so difficult to shake that later in life that it becomes really frustrating for a lot of people.
Conan said something like that. Conan O'Brien, because he had a celebrity atheist. I forgot which one on his show, and the guy was like, "Are you a Catholic?" And Conan was like, "Yeah," and the guy was like, "Oh," like he rolled his eye, and Conan was like, What? I was born Catholic. I don't I have no choice. How could I have like he was saying it's in my blood. Like how could I not be a Catholic, right? So people don't understand that you have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and
this is why it's important. By the way, I know some people in the Facebook live chat especially find it creepy when I say we need to go after their kids. Some person even think it's a child abuse. But this is why it's so important. People don't understand that if that the parent
instead of saying we should go after kids, we can say we should help kids understand that there's more than just Jesus or Muhammad.
No, I say it like that because I see because people know what I mean, and the people that want to overreact, I want to see their overreaction because I like the sensitive people to always see their comments.
Get your children.
I know we're coming after your kids.
You're gonna get a white van and spray paint free ideas on the side of it.
The point, guys, is that if when
hey kids, you want some rationality?
No.
Our future are today's kids, right? And if the only weapon that religion has, the main weapon that religion has, yes, in countries where they can't enforce it by law, is to keep their kids in the bubble long enough for us to be too late to reach to them.
Yep.
So, and this is why I think
anybody's like. I think everybody has the potential to become atheist if they so choose to, or if the right amount of information is given to them.
Of course.
I've had a lot of conversations with like lifelong religious folks, and after talking to me for a while, they start to, the doubt creeps in, and then I talk to them about the guilt, because I have a weird, like a reverse story. I was raised secular. And to comment on the imagination thing, I was raised with critical thinking out of the gate, and I grew up to, not only do I write these books, I write other like imaginative, like a sci-fi novel.
The most creative person
on my
I know
Amazon
right here.
Like, so it doesn't stifle any of that.
By the way,
But,
yeah. Sorry. Go on.
You know, no, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say this before it goes away. Nilufar Rahman, thank you so much for your super chat, $2 super chat. She's saying want to support the good cause. Very, very grateful.
Thank you.
But I mean, you guys agree that yes, it's everybody could like get out of the chains of their indoctrination, but it's much less likely if you haven't been introduced to just a little bit of a doubt at early age.
Society is changing rapidly. We have so many people like vocally confirming to a government entity that they're non-religious. Yeah. And I think the more and more people who are just vocal about it, you can be a lifelong Christian, but if everybody around you is like kind of being like, maybe not, you're going to start to, so it's not going to be as hard.
You're both right here. It is difficult to reach people, more difficult to reach people if they've been hardcore indoctrinated and had no experience elsewhere. It's definitely more difficult, but also it is possible, and also it is getting better because, like he just said, and like I argue in Mom, Dad, I'm an Atheist, the whole reason I wrote that book about coming out as an atheist was to get more people to talk about it, because if you say you're an atheist, maybe your sister or brother or mom or neighbor or whatever hears that and they're like, so atheists don't eat babies and worship Satan and stuff. They're just my neighbors and my sisters and stuff. And so the more people who say it, the more the internet advances, the harder it is to keep kids in that bubble, because they'll just be scrolling along on Facebook and bam, there's one of our memes that's just right there in their face, and their parents can't stop that, you know?
But this is why I think the books that you two are writing are some of the most important and underrated books in atheist or religion-related books, because we have so many books for adults. Yeah, but it's more important to reach.
That's why we did.
We need to reach them earlier, and that's what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Atheist authors are so often writing to each other. They're like.
Right.
Writing these books for other atheists who know this information, who just want to feel satisfied that they know what they know. And I feel like the way that we've approached this is to kind of stop all that from ever happening in the first place. They will get the information earlier on. They'll never have the problem of having to come out as an atheist. They'll just have always been an atheist, which, by the way, I think I think Chuck and I are similar in that regard. I was never a believer either. And I was raised.
Well, I was for 10 years.
Okay, from 1 to 10.
A decade. No. When I was 20, when you were I kind of rebelled and became born again. Yeah.
Again, yeah. That doesn't count. No.
It depends if he was sprinkled or fully submerged, I think.
I was raised by parents that believed in Christianity and grandparents who were fundamentalist Christians who believed that the earth was 6,000 years old, that God created Adam and Eve out of dirt, all that shit. And at 13 is when I finally started, like, honestly, I loved church and religion. I'm going to be real. I went to church. I loved the candy, the singing. It was like one of my favorite things. We had a trampoline at my church, right. But I never knew that it was all supposed to be taken seriously. I swear, up until 13, I thought that it was all just like, hey, these are some stories that'll help you. Like Charlotte's Web was a story that like had moral implications. I thought it was like that. And
so you were like, wait, you guys actually believe this shit?
Yeah. I remember the day that it happened because I was 15 and my grandparents were like, let's go to church. And I was like, oh, no, I'm going to go hang out with my friend this weekend, but I'll go to church next weekend. And my grandma said, she said, and I quote, well, you're going to go to hell. And I was like, oh, no, that's from the story, like the same story where God drowned everyone and an ark and stuff, and it's the book, it's the joke. And she was like, no, all that's real. And I was like, no. That's why I decided to study religion, because I was so fascinated. I was like, they believe all of this, and across the street there's a mosque where they believe opposite shit but just as strongly. And I was like, I need to study this.
No, actually, I very much agree with you. I think a religion is a lot more fun as an atheist. It's the it's the belief.
Oh, yeah.
It's the belief part that is the problem. If you
Exactly.
if you don't believe in it, it's actually shitload of fun. Islam is even a lot of fun with that if you don't believe in it, because
there's a flying horse. How could a flying horse not be fun?
Well, I mean, the fun part is the detective work, like trying to figure out where did this verse come from, how did this story turn into this story? Oh, they got that story from there, and this is why that's why it's in this verse. Oh, they changed it a little bit. Like it seems like trying to solve a puzzle that seems very hard to solve. Like you're going back in history and playing like a detective. It's so much fun if you look at it like that. If you look at it the mythology and history,
you would do really well in religious studies courses, because that's literally what I focused on. It's called comparative religion and historical religion, and it's literally looking at different beliefs and tracking them on a timeline. Okay, so this culture was neighboring to this culture, and they had this trade route, and as a result of that trade route, this belief in this particular deity was transferred to this place, and then that transferred through this trade route. You can literally on a timeline track exactly how beliefs are acquired and formed, and it's mind-blowing.
Well, textual criticism is actually what led to my atheism. I wanted to be a better Christian. I wanted to study my Bible more. I wanted to actually lecture on the historicity of the Bible and actually prove my position right. And in trying to prove my position right, I found that my definition of the God that I believed in did not match the definition of the God that was in the doctrine. Yep. And that led me into more scriptural contradictions that I went through and studied. And like you said, I found that Christianity came from Judaism. Judaism came from the Canaanite religion and the Ugaritic text, and that came from the Babylonians, and so on and so forth. And it was just a snowball that led to my eventual atheism.
By the way, when people find out that Noah's Ark isn't an original story and then it came from Mesopotamia, they're just like, wait, what? This existed before my religion existed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I need to clarify something, because I think I misunderstood somebody in the Facebook live chat, Joanna, when she said child abuse. She was talking about religious indoctrination. She was saying that's why I said from a form of child abuse to indoctrinate kids into religion. It's like teaching them 2 + 2 is 7, and then it's as adults they have a hard time accepting that 2 + 2 is 4. Muscal in the YouTube live chat is saying, since we're talking about indoctrination, in high school sophomore year, I took a history class called World History through a Christian perspective. I attended Catholic school, and then she also said most Catholic things only wanted to be good. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are. It's important to mention that when you say we need to teach kids about the history of religion, the problem is that in Iran, where I grew up as a Muslim, we were told the history of religion, but not the real history of religion.
Yeah, you were lied to. Yeah, we need to keep it secular and keep it academic, as opposed to letting biased influences infiltrate, which is literally the only problem with teaching religions, is that you do tend to have those problems. But if it's a monitored program, if it's something that there are places in Europe that do it well, that teach religion to kids without it being lies, and the facts show statistically that kids who grow up like that are less religious when they're adults. Factually.
Right. It's just important that you approach it from an unbiased, nuanced perspective.
Yeah. Like, are you teaching them Columbus was good?
Exactly.
Like, and you're like, I won't tell you about Jesus because that's child abuse, but I'll parrot the Columbus story for you.
And like in Texas, they'll teach you that Moa laid down the foundation for the tenets of North American legislature.
No, of American fucking the founding of the United States was apparently influenced,
divinely inspired by Moses.
Right?
No.
Oh, I like that one. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that's actually in the Texas textbooks now.
I read about that.
They're going to throw out Hillary Clinton.
That's beautiful that they're doing that, though. It's going to be great, because in the future, somebody's going to be saying that as if it's fact, and then other people are going to go, "Did you go to school in Texas?"
But then
And they're
we're
gonna
going to
go,
be like, well,
yeah.
if Moses didn't exist, then that means that Hillary Clinton didn't exist.
Oh.
All right, so
Wait, I don't think Hillary Clinton does exist.
She's a lizard.
okay,
No,
we're getting
she's a lizard.
we're getting
She's a lizard. It makes so much sense.
Oh my
some more YouTube live chat that I'm reading this because we were tagged, not because I'm being biased, like because it's a compliment. Christy in the live chat is saying, Armin, you make a amazing father and parent. Plus, you two, I think she's talking about me and my wife, would make a gorgeous tiny human.
Yeah, you would.
Thank you so much, Christy. But I'm trying to convince my wife to adopt instead of having, our own biological kids. If I ever have my own kid, my own as in like biological kid, and it's because my wife has one, and if I tell you that no, this is okay, she convinced me, I'm lying to you. I'm not okay with anything that's happening. No, I want to adopt. I don't. But yeah, she doesn't.
Just do an offset.
That's awesome.
My wife and I are doing an offset program where we have a biological kid and we adopt a kid, and then if we have another biological kid, we adopt a kid. We're gonna end up with 20 kids. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, that's gonna be
problem. You're gonna have to write a lot more books.
No, or nothing. No more books.
Would that be an anti-quiver movement?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would be a quiver full for sure.
Theo Mikey is saying
full of logic.
Theo Mikey
full of babies.
That is okay. We're getting a lot of guys. We need to end this soon because I know we have a hard stop.
David, where can people find your book?
Let me read the live chat. Just four more, and then after that we will ask where to people find it. So Theo Mikey is saying, I started becoming skeptical after learning about the archaeology of Palestine. I had a liberal view of Adam and Eve, but the Exodus and Moses not being historical was the death nail. Yeah. Theo Mikey, there was no. The Jews were not the slaves of Egypt. We have so much records of that to showing that they never went to Egypt.
There was Exodus, but it wasn't that Exodus.
Yeah, there was different people. They copied the story from some other group of people. Theo Mikey saying, after learning about the archaeology of that region, I was surprised how ahistorical many of the events are. One thing I did conclude was that I'd say fundamentalists who take it literally spit on the actual history and legacy of the ancient Hebrews, which is actually quite interesting. Okay, last comment I'm going to read is by Axel. So the key to teaching religion safely to children is using atheist teachers. I love life's little ironies. Do you need atheists?
No, I don't think so. I mean, of course, it doesn't hurt to have I'm not saying it would be bad, but people who are religious, I've mentioned there are Christians who use our books to teach their kids. It's not uncommon to have people who understand that religions are all different and unique and have their own and still have this faith that they just feel attracted to it, they feel attached to it, and they believe that. And of course, that's still a failure in critical thinking, but it's also not the most harmful failure, and it's not something that keeps them from teaching objective facts to kids at all times.
So I would say I would take a Christian teacher that teaches religion objectively and with that bias over an atheist teacher that wouldn't touch the subject of religion at all. I would take that agree. Christian teacher. Yeah,
I agree. 100%. 100%.
Okay, I think we need to stop here because David has
awesome.
to go. But
thank you guys.
Jim,
thank you so much.
Ask the question. Where can we find the book?
David, Chuck, thank you guys so much for joining us. We definitely learned a lot. You guys pick up their book, pick up the other two in the series as well. No sacred cow, or sorry.
No. The book of gods. Yeah, it's very easy, Jim. How could you not remember this?
That's it. I know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Here's how you remember.
No sacred cows.
Yeah, but that's separate from this trilogy. Okay, so actually the trilogy makes a very logical sense, right? So you first have to figure out how beliefs are made, and then one of those beliefs is God, and then now that you have a God, now you have to figure out how religion is made. So for kids, you buy 3 books: the Book of Ideas, Beliefs. The Book of Beliefs. The Book of I fucked.
You're our publisher.
Yeah, the Book of Beliefs, the Book of
No,
Gods,
the belief book.
the Belief Book, the God. Wait, fuck. The Belief
They're a
Book.
little
The belief
different. Yeah,
book, the book of gods, the book of
Book of
religion.
God.
Okay, I tried to shit on Jim for not screwing this, but okay.
David-
The Book of Beliefs, the Book of Gods, the Book of Religions.
The belief book.
Oh, okay,
Son of
fuck
a-
it. I quit.
Okay. David, close this out. Tell everybody where they can find the book at.
They're all on Amazon. You can search The Belief Book, Book of Gods, Book of Religions. They're on Atheist Republic. They're going up on the sales page on Atheist Republic soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Walmart. You can find it at Walmart.
No, you
Go
can't.
on Walmart's website and
Actually,
search the
now
belief book.
I changed my mind. Your titles are not easy to remember.
They're not.
No, they're not.
So,
But they make you think, though, don't they?
Yeah,
They make you
exactly.
think.
Oh.
okay,
Guys,
so
joining us.
we need to make a sale page where all 3 books are on the same page. Then, okay?
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks so much.
And link to it. Jim, can we make our web developer have like a link to all 3 of them on the homepage of atheistrepublic.com so that we could tell people to just go to atheistrepublic.com and it's on the homepage somewhere?
Absolutely, guys. We'll have that up in a couple of days, but in the meantime, Amazon.com. You can get it in an ebook. You can get it in print form. Search Belief Book, Book of Religions, whichever one you want. I suggest getting the entire trilogy. Thank you guys again for joining us. We had a conversation.
Okay, and yeah, sorry for screwing up the name of your book, but Sachin is our web developer. If you're listening to this, I know sometimes you watch our live streams. This is a priority, okay? Jim, be on his ass to make sure he does this. Sachin, I know we give you so much work and we tell you everything is a high priority, but this one is a real high priority.
Thanks again, guys. I'm gonna go grab some dinner. I apprate you having me.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, David.
Oh, also, the YouTube. Oh, one more place. For people that are on Facebook, come to the YouTube version of this. The link is in the description of this video as well on YouTube. And also, if you're listening to this on podcast, check the description of your podcast. The link is also in the description there as well. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.